So this video is going to be a little bit different. It'll be a bit shorter, it's not a review or a McSwaggins original. It's more of a video essay, which, wow, white boy is making a video essay. But it is part of a collaboration between a lot of content creators that I'm very excited to throw my hat into. Nando from the channel Nando v Movies is hosting one last collaboration called One Last Scene, where anyone can talk about one of the last scenes from a show, movie, video game, or whatever you want. I don't really talk about comic stuff a lot on this channel, but it's always been a big part of my life, and he really knows his stuff. So I cannot recommend Nando's channel enough, and I'm very glad to contribute to this collaboration. I'd also like to really quickly say that Alan Wake 2 is tied for my favorite video game of all time. I do connect with a lot of story games emotionally, but I feel like this game connected to me and almost held a mirror up to the past few years of my life. I really love this game and I'm so glad it exists, but I'm also still working through my thoughts and feelings on it and don't want to upload a review and then have a massive realization after it's uploaded. So all of this is to say that an Alan Wake 2 review is coming, but not anytime soon, as it's my next big project that's going to take me a while, like the Red Dead Redemption 2 review did. But I don't want to make you guys or myself wait that long without an Alan Wake 2 video, so let's take a look at this game's last scene. Also, this will only be covering the base ending of the game, not the true ending of the final draft, and obviously there will be spoilers. But I'm not sure that even matters, because I've played the game twice and read explanations for certain things countless times, and I'm still a little fuzzy on some stuff. But first we need to have some context, so I'm just going to give a quick rundown of what's necessary as a quick reminder, assuming you've played the game. In The Dark Place, Alan wrote FBI agent Saga Anderson and her partner Alex Casey, not that Casey, and also not that Sam Lake, or that Sam Lake, but also not that Max Payne, despite having the same face as Max Payne, and that Alex Casey and Sam Lake, as well as the same voice as Max Payne and that Alex Casey. This one is the real one. Anyways, he wrote them into the story to help him escape from the dark place with the motivation to stop the story from coming true, as it's written in it that Saga's daughter drowned years ago. Throughout the game, Saga slowly loses control over the story, and it becomes truer and truer that her daughter is dead. With Alan, the dark presence escapes as well in the form of Mr. Scratch and takes over Alan's body. When they exorcise him, it takes control of Alex Casey and throws Saga into the dark place, and uses the clicker to take over Bright Falls, sort of making it a pocket dark place. With both of them in the dark place, Alan and Saga meet up in Alan's writer's room, and as co-writers, make a new ending. So now let's take a look at what they wrote.
Okay. It must end here, this darkness. What lies under the surface now shifts. A play of shadows catching my eye, thrusting my face into the water.
He's here.
It's shockingly cold, past the mirror of the surface. And I will say...
Casey? Stretch! Now!
A white, searing light of truth that for a flash pierces the shadows and reveals the hidden horror. And in that moment of silence, the whispered message finally heard.
Come on, motherfucker! Come on!
What if there's nothing waiting to be revealed? The play of shadows fool us all, subterfuge to get our price of admission. Darkness not as a monster, but as emptiness. We're none the wiser. No answers, no truths. The hero turns to look inside, is destroyed by what he sees, and is redeemed. Saga said we're both heroes. I'll pay that price. So will she. We are here to kill the monster. I pray nothing comes after this. Nothing will sleep. This is how we win. Is it too easy? What if this is still the dark place? Another dream to wake up from, always coming back to the beginning. The memory of what came before burned away by this terrible realization. Maybe it's a mercy, forgetting. To know nothing when we loop around, back to...
Is it over? Anderson.
This ending is one of the best ways to show that Alan Wake 2 has mastered the horror experience. It's not the best survival horror game when it comes to gameplay. Like, it's pretty good, but the horror story, atmosphere, and the prices that must be paid elevate the experience, including the gameplay to another level. Now, if this scene looks familiar, let's take a look at the beginning. I can't show all of it because they show full-on dong, but I'll show you what's necessary.
Back to the beginning. We all come to a story with hopes and expectations, looking for an answer. Sometimes it would be better to live with that hope without ever knowing the full story.
This whole game has been a time loop filled with vague memories of the previous times Alan has done the same thing over and over and spoke the same conversations. At this point in the game, there is no escape for Alan. He is doomed to live the same experience in the dark place for the rest of time, dragging Saga in with him. In horror stories, there are only victims and monsters, and the trick is to avoid being either of them. Through the course of the story, Alan has unintentionally become who he thought was Scratch, and to his knowledge, drove his wife to suicide. He became that monster, and to save Saga, her daughter, and Alex Casey, he's ultimately okay with becoming the victim. He's tired and has given up, hoping that only sleep follows. He knows that he's gonna go through it all over again, but like he said, maybe forgetting is a blessing. He sacrifices himself by allowing the dark presence to possess him, and with that is taken down with him through the bullet of light. The last thing we see in this ending is Saga trying to call her daughter. Casey asks if the ending worked, as we eagerly await to see if the phone picks up, and credits roll. There are no winners in horror stories, and this ending is no exception. The loop is only reinforced. It doesn't matter if Saga's daughter is okay, it's just gonna happen all over again. You feel satisfied as everything in this ending has been built up and executed perfectly, but you don't get that comfort of knowing if it's gonna be okay, which is, in my opinion, one of the best ways a horror story can end. We don't know if either of these people are the thing, or what Patrick Bateman did or didn't make up. In stories like these, emotions aren't bound to a runtime. The suspense doesn't end when the story ends. I love Saga and I want the best for her, but Alan Wake is potentially the character across all media that I've related to the most. And after all this time and all this effort to save him, we are back at the beginning. It's entirely possible that our heroes have lost. And that's why I think this last scene is the best example of how Remedy perfected horror and crafted the best story in the genre ever. But I want to cheat a little bit and briefly talk about one last scene. In the credits, we get one more video from Alice just for Alan. She reveals that this whole time she's been misleading him. When Alan haunted her, it was because she had been in the dark place and could see him reaching out. She went to the Federal Bureau of Control and remembered what happened, and that Alan never drowned but instead took her place. He would rather spend eternity in his own personal hell than let her stay there another minute. She misled him and made him think that she committed suicide so that he could make the right choices and continue the story, when in reality she dove back into Cauldron Lake to help him. She says that the only way out for Alan is destruction or ascension, and with every loop he gets closer and closer to escape. He ascends a little more each loop.
Alan, I think we're getting close.
It's not a loop. It's a spiral.
This is the best way this game can end. We don't see it in this version of the campaign, but Alan can escape. There is hope for him yet. Think about it like this. These spokes are plot beats that Alan lives through every time. The loop would say that he keeps going through it over and over, but it's a spiral. Yes, he keeps hitting this plot over and over, but the way he gets there is a little different each time, bringing him a little higher up on the spoke. He keeps ascending up each plot point. And the thing about spirals is that they have a beginning and an end. The spiral started with Alan diving into the dark place to save Alice, and it will end eventually. And hopefully it's with his escape. And that's what this ending gives us. Hope. Outside of the final draft, which I love, we don't know if Alan, Saga, her daughter, Casey, Alice, Tim Breaker, and the old gods will be okay. But at least there's a chance. It's almost the exact opposite of the initial ending. That ending shows that, yeah, Saga could have succeeded, but we don't know, and it doesn't really matter because it's all gonna happen over and over again. This ending shows that, yeah, Alan is right back at the start, but it doesn't matter because there's still that hope of escape. Remedy hasn't just mastered horror in the sense that they understand it. No, Remedy has become horror's master, and can overcome the rules and tropes that must come with it, the same way Alan becomes the master of his story in the final draft. Unless they kill Alan in the third game, then I always knew that Remedy was washed.